The Los Angeles County Courthouse buzzed with anticipation, the air heavy with the weight of judgment. Spectators packed the gallery, their whispers weaving a tense backdrop as all eyes fixed on the defendant's table. Jalen Dawson, 19, stood there, accused of grand theft auto and resisting arrest. To the court, he was just a kid in over his head. Hands tucked in his pockets, shoulders squared, a glint of defiance in his eyes. But Judge Walter Grayson, perched high on his bench, saw only another case to clear before his afternoon golf game. His fingers tapped impatiently on the desk, his smirk barely concealed. "You think you're some kind of lawyer, son?" he drawled, voice dripping with condescension. The courtroom snickered. Bailiff, stenographer, even the prosecutor, Mitchell Carrington, shared in the amusement. Jalen didn't crack a smile. He wasn't here to play their game. Jalen had grown up in the shadow of the law, not as a criminal, but as a student of its mechanics. His mother, Denise, a paralegal for 2 decades, filled their dinner table with stories of courtroom battles. Prosecutors bending truths, judges favoring the powerful, defense attorneys phoning it in. While other teens chased trends, Jalen pored over legal texts, memorizing precedents like others memorized song lyrics. By 15, he could dissect a case with the precision of a seasoned attorney. Today, though, he wasn't just theorizing. He was fighting for his freedom. And he was ready. Grayson flipped through the case file with a bored sigh. "Let's wrap this up quick," he said, glancing at his watch. The gallery chuckled, but Jalen's lips twitched into a subtle, knowing smile. The judge had just tipped his hand, and Jalen was watching. Prosecutor Carrington stood, his tailored suit and practiced confidence filling the room. "Your Honor, the state will prove Jalen Dawson was caught driving a stolen 2022 Audi A6, reported missing mere hours before his arrest. He fled from police through downtown, his fingerprints found on the steering wheel. The evidence is undeniable." The words landed like a gavel, the crowd murmuring in agreement. It seemed airtight. A stolen car, a chase, a suspect caught. Carrington turned to the jury, his voice smooth. "The defense may claim this is a misunderstanding, but what innocent person runs from the law?" Judge Grayson nodded, leaning forward. "Sounds clear enough." The room seemed to close in on Jalen, but he stood unfazed, his eyes scanning the prosecutor's every move. Carrington pressed on, holding up a report. Officer Daniel Ruiz saw the defendant behind the wheel before he fled. The arrest was textbook. Jalen's public defender, Lisa Thornton, rose nervously, but before she could speak, Jalen touched her arm and whispered. She hesitated, then sat. Every head turned as Jalen spoke, his voice steady. "I'll represent myself, Your Honor." The courtroom froze. Grayson's eyebrows shot up. "You're what?" Jalen repeated, calm as stone. "I'm defending myself." A ripple of murmurs spread. Carrington let out a sharp laugh, but it was forced, his confidence wavering. No one expected what came next. Jalen stepped forward, his presence commanding despite his casual stance. "Your Honor, I'd like to clarify something with the prosecution." Carrington smirked, arms crossed. "Go ahead." Jalen's gaze didn't waver. "You said Officer Ruiz saw me driving the car before the arrest, correct?" Carrington nodded, impatient. "That's right. It's in his report." Jalen's eyes flicked to Grayson. "Your Honor, I move to strike that testimony. Officer Ruiz wasn't even on duty during the chase." The room stirred. Carrington's smirk vanished. "What are you talking about?" Jalen pressed forward. "If the court permits, I'd like to request Officer Ruiz's GPS logs from that night. If he saw me, his location should confirm it, but I'm betting it won't." The gallery buzzed louder. Grayson's eyes narrowed, turning to Carrington. "Counselor," the prosecutor hesitated. A fatal pause. The jury noticed. The spectators noticed. Jalen noticed. Carrington cleared his throat. "No objections, Your Honor," but the tide was shifting and everyone felt it. The courtroom settled into an uneasy quiet as Carrington regrouped. "Your Honor, regardless of the logs, the defendant's fingerprints were on the steering wheel." Jalen nodded, almost as if he'd expected this. "Let's talk about those prints," he said, turning to the jury. "The prosecution says my fingerprints prove I stole the car, but let's think about that." His voice was calm, deliberate. "Say you test. Drive a car at a dealership, touch the wheel, then leave. Later, someone steals that car. Do your fingerprints make you a thief? Jurors shifted in their seats. Jalen continued, that Audi was parked outside a 7-11 hours before it was stolen. I was there with friends and yeah, I touched the car. It was unlocked, so I opened the door, looked inside, then walked away. Dumb, maybe, criminal, no. He paused, letting the logic sink in. And about those fingerprints, where's the forensic specialist who processed them? Why aren't they here for me to question? No chain of custody, no cross-examination. That's not evidence, that's a story. Carrington fumbled through his notes, his polish fading. Grayson rubbed his temple, the case no longer the slam dunk he'd assumed. But Jalen wasn't finished. He turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to submit a statement from the car's owner, Raymond Whittaker. Grayson blinked. The owner? Jalen nodded. Yes. His statement to police was somehow left out of the prosecution's filings. Care to guess why? He held up a transcript and read, I left my car running at a gas station. Some kid hopped in and took off, but it wasn't the guy you arrested. The thief was white. A gasp swept the room. Jalen faced Grayson. The prosecution ignored this. They also ignored that I was arrested blocks away, walking home with friends, nowhere near the car. The only evidence tying me to this is lazy police work and assumptions. Carrington scrambled. Your Honor, this is irrelevant. He was caught with the vehicle. Jalen cut in, sharp but composed. I wasn't caught with anything. I was profiled because I was a black kid in the wrong place. The room fell silent. Grayson exhaled, adjusting his glasses. He looked at Jalen, then the jury, then Carrington. Anything further, Counselor? Carrington's face reddened. No, Your Honor. Grayson leaned back, his voice heavy. Case dismissed. The courtroom erupted, some in shock, others in quiet approval. Reporters scribbled furiously. Jalen stood still, letting the moment settle. Grayson's gaze lingered on him, no longer mocking but searching, maybe even humbled. As Jalen turned to leave, the judge called out, Mr. Dawson. Jalen paused. Grayson's voice softened. Consider law school. Jalen's smirk said he was already halfway there. Outside, reporters swarmed, cameras flashing. Jalen, did you expect to win? What's next? He pulled his hoodie up, ignoring the noise. This wasn't about fame. It was about exposing a system that had failed too many. Denise waited at the steps, her expression a mix of pride and exasperation. You nearly gave me a heart attack, she said, pulling him into a hug. Jalen grinned, had to roll the dice, ma. Across the street, Grayson watched from his car, his usual arrogance gone. He'd expected a routine case, but Jalen had turned the mirror on the system, forcing it to see its flaws. This wasn't just one kid's victory. It was a challenge to every case built on shortcuts and bias. Jalen knew this was only the beginning. Next time, he'd be the one in a suit, fighting for those who couldn't fight back. The lesson? The system isn't infallible. It's human, and humans can be wrong. Jalen had the tools to expose that, but how many others don't? Share this story, talk about it, because the next Jalen might be someone you know.